Let's talk about something heavy. It's a question that a lot of us have, but we don't always talk about it out loud. What does the Bible actually say about suicide? It's a tough topic for sure, but it's an incredibly important one. So let's get into it.
Yeah, this is really the core question, isn't it? It's what everyone wants to know, and it usually comes from a place of real concern, either for ourselves or for someone we love, and a question that big deserves a really thoughtful and compassionate look.
Okay, so let's just put this right out there up front. This might be the exact opposite of what you've heard before. The whole idea that suicide leads to automatic condemnation, well, that's a teaching that's been around for a long time. But, and this is so important, it's not a rule you can just go and find clearly written out in the Bible. So let's break that down a bit. We're going to start by looking at this common belief and then put it side by side with what the scriptures actually focus on.
You can really see the difference here. On one side, you have this very fear-based teaching that many of us grew up with, but when you look at the text itself, you find that there just isn't a clear verse or rule that says suicide equals automatic eternal punishment. It's just not there.
So if the Bible doesn't give us a simple rule, what does it give us instead? Well, it gives us something much deeper. It constantly points us back to the character of God. The focus is always on a God who is just, absolutely, but also incredibly merciful. A God who gets the absolute darkest corners of the human heart in a way we never could.
And that leads us right into our next section. You know, the Bible is so raw and honest about human struggle. It doesn't paint these pretty pictures of perfect people. In fact, it shows some of its biggest heroes at their absolute lowest points, and there's a powerful message in that alone.
Just look at these three names. We're not talking about minor characters or people with shaky faith here. These are absolute giants of the Old Testament. You've got a powerful prophet, a man famous for his righteousness, and another prophet, and every single one of them hit a wall of absolute despair.
First up, Elijah. I mean, this guy just called down fire from heaven in a huge spiritual showdown. But right after, he's on the run, totally exhausted, and feels completely alone. And in that moment of total burnout and fear, he literally sits down and asks God to just end it all.
And then you've got Job. His name is basically synonymous with suffering. He loses everything, his family, his health, his home. And the pain is so immense, so deep, that he curses the very day he was born. He just wishes he'd never existed in the first place. And Jonah's story is a bit different, but just as intense. He finally does what God asked him to do, and when he sees God show mercy to his enemies, he gets so angry and frustrated that he also asks God to take his life. It just goes to show you that this kind of despair can come from all sorts of places: fear, grief, even anger.
You know, the Bible even tells us about people who did die by suicide, like King Saul or Judas. But what's fascinating is that even in those tragic stories, the narrative focuses on their whole complicated lives. It never points to that one final act and says, that's it. That's the thing that sealed their eternal fate.
So, if these incredibly faithful people cried out like this, in so much pain, what was God's response? This, right here, is where the message of the Bible really starts to shine. It's less about the human cry of despair and so much more about how God answered it. Look at this pattern. It's amazing. When Elijah wished for death, God didn't give him a lecture. He responded with compassion. An angel came with food and water and told him to rest. When Job was in total anguish, God's ultimate response was restoration. And with Jonah's angry outburst, God's response was patience. In every single case, the answer isn't condemnation, it's care. And this all points to one of the central teachings of Christianity, something you see really clearly in places like Ephesians. The idea is that salvation is a gift. It's from God's grace. It's not something we earn with our good deeds, which also means it's not something we can lose with one single tragic act, especially an act that comes from a place of unimaginable pain.
Okay, so what does this all mean when we put it together? Let's try to form a view that's balanced, that's compassionate, and ultimately one that's full of hope, all based on what we've just looked at. So it seems we have to hold two big ideas at the same time. On the one hand, yes, life is absolutely presented as a sacred gift. It has incredible value and purpose. But on the other hand, you have the profound, unbelievable mercy of God, a judge who sees the entire story, who understands the mental illness, the trauma, the despair in a way that no person ever could.
And that really brings us to a place of humility, doesn't it? Because in the end, that final judgment, that belongs to God and God alone. We're invited to trust His perfect justice and His perfect mercy, not to make declarations about where someone's soul ends up.
And on that note, if this isn't just an intellectual question for you, if you're actually walking through that kind of darkness right now, I really, really need you to lean in and hear these next few words.
Please hear this. Your story, it is not over. The pain you feel right this second is real, but it is not the final word. And there is help. You are not alone in this, even when it feels like you are. You do not have to carry this weight by yourself.
And because of that, there is hope. I know it can feel impossible to see it sometimes, but there is a path forward, toward healing and toward light.
So maybe, at the end of the day, the most important question isn't just about what happens after this life is over. Maybe the question is for us, right here and right now. How can we be the kind of people who bring light into dark places? How can we be the ones to show compassion and offer support to those who are struggling?